Okay, now that we've learned a little bit about shape draw and object draw, let's create something with shape draw. So if we select our rectangle tool, and instead of creating something with a fill, I just want to create an outline and I want to manipulate it using shape draw. So if we select this, then we have no fill. So I'm going to make sure object draw mode is off. And if we click and drag, we've created a rectangle that has no fill. Okay. If I use the selection tool, I can hover over top of these points. So if I get to the end point, it'll show that I've got a different, my cursor changes from a curved edge to a pointed edge. So it'll show that I can drag it in that direction. If I curve this side, and then I do the same thing over here, drag that up, curve this out, and that can be based on, if I grab it near the edge of this line, drag this out, I could click, drag that in, drag it down, curve this a little bit more. Now if I select, if I don't click, if I just click once, it'll just select this one line. Okay, undo. So I want you to create this shape, and then I want you to select this one line. Then we're going to go Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Now here I'm going to actually click off the line to deselect it, and then I'm going to grab the end point of this line, snap it in, snap it in, drag this a little bit lower, and I may decide that this needs to now be a little bit lower. Basically what we're going to create right here is our canoe. So this boat that we're creating, now that we've drawn it, manipulated it with the shape draw, now I'm going to grab the fill. Okay, so I want to go to my paint bucket tool. I'm going to click on this fill color, and maybe I'll pick something that is like a lighter brown. Okay, now that I've seen that, maybe I want to go with a bit of a darker brown. I like that one a little bit more. And then I'm going to pick a darker shade of that. So I've got my canoe here. I've got the inside of the canoe is a different color. And then if I want this all to be one piece, I like my drawing now. I've drawn this. I'm going to either click and drag to select all of it, or I could click on this fill. If I click 3 times, it will select all of the, basically all of the stroke that is touching that fill. So surrounding that fill, it will select that stroke. Then I could hold down Shift, select that fill, and select that stroke to select the whole thing. That's not something you're going to do if you've got a lot of pieces to your drawing. If I click off of my layer, let's say I create another layer, and then I select this layer, again, it's highlighted everything. So that's another quick way to do that. So all I have on this layer is just my canoe. So I'm going to press F8 on my keyboard, and then I'm going to call this canoe. Click OK. Now this piece will all move together. I could grab my free transform. Now I don't want to stretch this shrink it or stretch it out. So I'm going to undo. I like the way that it was, but I just want it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go to the corner, hold down Shift, and then it's just going to make my canoe smaller, but it's going to like constrain the proportions of it so it doesn't stretch it out or flatten it. I select off it, and then I've got my canoe. I can move it. I could go to the free transform if I want to, and I can go to the edge of it. Maybe I've got the canoe moving through the water. Okay, so I've got this as a movie clip. I'm going to create a new layer, so I'm going to call this my canoe layer. This layer here, I should really make a background. Okay, so here I can lock my canoe layer. I don't want to screw that up. I could also hide it temporarily. So I'm just going to click on this dot, which is right under the visibility. And the same one with the lock option. So it's out of the way. It's protected. I'm not going to mess it up. I'm going to click on 50%. I'm going to select my rectangle tool. My background, let's say, I'm just going to have like a... maybe I'll pick... I'll pick like a really... what am I looking for here? Maybe a really like light colored sky. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, I don't love the color right now. I might choose something that is a color from the color wheel. Okay, so now when I select that, I've got options here to pick some other colors. A lighter blue. Now, this sky is still the same blue that I chose. So I have to actually select this, then go select the color. So I could either pick different colors in here, or I could pick this color and then just lighten it. So I'm going to go with this one. Click OK. So let's lighten this one up. It's not maybe the color that I prefer, but it is more of a sky type of color. Obviously, the sky changes throughout the day, but maybe I want to use a gradient. We'll get into gradients later. I don't want to throw too much at you right now. So I am going to put this in as my background. I'm going to lock it. Now, if I make the canoe visible, the background layer is on top of the canoe layer, so I have to drag this and drag it down. And then I've got my background there. I'm going to create another layer, and I'm going to make this one water 1. So I'll call it water _1. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so I've got this water layer, and even though I've got the canoe there, I could make this have no stroke. Maybe I'm going to go for a little bit darker blue here. Okay, so I've got my water here. Maybe I want to make some water with some waves or whatever. I'm just going to bump this down just a little bit. And I may also decide that I'm going to make a new layer. I'll call this water 2. Okay, so again, it reminds me that I got to put an underscore in there, no spaces. So it fills it in for me. And then I'm going to hide water 1 for a second. I'm going to grab this rectangle tool again, change this blue to a lighter blue. And then I'm going to fill this in here. Move it down a little bit. Now, I'm going to drag this in front of the canoe. So it looks a little bit silly right now. I put in the back water here. But what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to, in my fill, this alpha is actually the transparency of this. So at 100%, it's full transparency. And if I drop this to, let's say, 45, I click off of this, and I've got my water here. So I've got water that's partially see-through, so I can see like a bit of the canoe there, as well as I've got the background water here. Now I might want to spend some time matching up those colors a little bit, so I might grab this and I might change the transparency of this as well. And again, I might have some waves in here and some of the water moving a little bit. I can hit Control Enter just to see what this is going to look like. I don't mind it. There's a little bit of a difference in the water color right there, but I can see kind of the canoe sitting in the water. I'm going to make the canoe. I'm going to make this 5 seconds. So I want to make all of these layers at the same time. So I'm going to actually click on 120, but when I click, I'm just going to select, hold down the mouse button, and just click and drag. So click and drag, press F5. Now, each of these layers, the frames go to 120. I'm going to go to my canoe. It's already a movie. Oops, I'm going to lock in my water, make my canoe active, so I unlock it. I select the canoe. It is a movie clip. I'm going to right-click, motion tween, so I can make this canoe move from one side to the other. So if I were to watch this now, the canoe's moving across the screen. Maybe I want to give it a little bit of motion. So about halfway, I'm going to press F6. So this is new, but this puts in a keyframe. So this is like a moment when this character, this canoe, is in this exact position, this exact place. So I move over here, and I might select my, or I will select my free transform, and I'll move this up. So as we're watching this, it moves up. It moves back into the spot that it was in. And then again, when it gets to here, it's just going to have this gentle rock. Now, canoe normally hopefully won't rock this much, but I just want to give the boat a little bit of motion so that when we're watching it, it just feels a little more realistic. So again, you're constantly looking at your animation, testing to see if it looks good. If I don't like the way that this boat is moving, or I look back at the canoe and just think, I should have made the shape a little bit different, I might go back and edit the boat itself. So I could double click on the canoe, and I can see that I've lost all these layers, but actually all those layers still exist in scene 1. So when I double click on the canoe, I'm actually editing the canoe, and I could zoom in back to the boat. I could say, you know what, this canoe looked a little bit better when it wasn't as drastic, this curve here, etc. Back to scene 1, check it again, and maybe that's what I want. Okay, maybe I want to put a little bit of waves in there, a little bit of movement with the water. So with this next assignment, you're going to make a canoe move along the water, just like this. And that's it for this one.